now that we've addressed the allegations from Mons, I'd like to do a really brief segue from the allegations to the origins of this project that caused a lot of that drama, to the Edge of the Sky. So I'd like to know, like, what originally inspired you to make To the Edge of the Sky?
I mean, originally it was BTS. Mm-hmm. So originally it was BTS that inspired me. At the time, their Wings album had just come out, and it had like Blood, Sweat and Tears, and it had like all that interesting, like the video for Blood, Sweat and Tears was really interesting. And I learned they had, like everybody else knew, they had based off the book Damien. So I kept thinking, I was like, BTS storylines are so interesting, and their music videos is such a shame that it can't be expanded. And back then there was no webcomic, there was no movie series or whatever. Like there wasn't extra content on their BTSU storyline. So I thought that it would make for like a great game and a great story, and I thought that I wanted to see if there was something I wanted to see if it was something that the fans would like, and if it was something that BigHit would be interested in. So I read Damien, kind of to get an idea of where they were coming from with their storyline, and I reviewed I did an analysis, which I never released it, but I did a pretty long analysis on I Need You and Run, and to try to understand them as artists. And then I tried to take all of those elements together and kind of weave them into a story that would make sense into a game. Mm-hmm. So I ended up using secret agents because, for one thing, that's always a popular AU for them. But also it gave them an excuse to all be together, because mostly you don't have 7 people together all the time. So I needed an excuse, and of course I was going to do something like high school. Yeah. For many reasons. Plus also they're not even in high school. So I just thought it would be a cool and fun idea, and it was a way for me to be able to weave in those concepts, but in a subtle way that you won't really notice. It wasn't actual plot elements, but in a more subtle way, the dynamics between members and stuff like that. I tried to weave in those things from their previous videos. And then of course you and I went to which concert? Newark, yeah. And we handed out fan art postcards to 1,000 people to gauge the reaction, to see if there was even an interest in such a thing. And then there was huge positive response. So To the Edge of the Sky has just continuously gotten a huge positive response, and I'm really grateful for that. But that's why I created it initially. Though I guess it's changed a little bit now. Oh, and one of the things I wanted to talk about was in To the Edge of the Sky was social issues, because BTS was doing that too. They would talk about different things. I wanted to use it as a platform to advocate for social issues and environmental issues and stuff like that.
Yeah, some of the songs for you fans who have been fans of BTS for a long time, that they've talked about fighting against the status quo, in their song No, talking about the educational system. And also they mentioned breaking the glass ceiling in one of their other songs, and a glass ceiling, an analogy for women being able to see what they want to achieve, but then not being able to reach it, that kind of thing. So BTS in many of their songs have talked about those kinds of social issues, and then they're also representatives for UNICEF. So wanting to touch on that more in a game, which is an accessible, a widespread accessible kind of universal language, so to speak. Honestly, would you say that was your way of trying to make their message more widespread, or try to contribute, so to speak, just to make it more reachable to other people?
I guess you could say at the time there was a big divide between Korean fans and international fans, and how much intimacy they got with the artists. Basically Korean fans got still to this day get to obviously they're from Korea, they speak in Korean, so like they have more opportunities to interact with them. So I like the idea of putting it into a game, because then I thought that fans would get to, especially international fans, would get to interact with them on some level in a way that we realistically cannot do, and they cannot realistically do all the time. I thought it would give them that feeling of closeness of being able to interact with the members.
Okay. So you said that it was a fan project earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like any fan project, like would you say that it's on par with like any like other work of fan fiction or like fan art, like a drawing, or like would you just say like it's a combination of different fan works, like how it's basically fan art and then like fan fiction like combined together?
I mean, in a sense, it would really depend on one's perspective. From my perspective, I'd say it's more like, well, the original version was more like fan art combined with really inspired original writing, because it was so far, it wasn't just like, it was so far removed from some of the concepts that they had. Like it was inspired by their concepts more than I can say like it would be like a fanfic. And when it came to the characters, like personalities and stuff, I guess you could say that was fanfic. But at the same time, I did try to change their personalities to match their new careers, their new lives, and they weren't the same people. They didn't even have the same names. So they were not supposed to be literally them. They were supposed to be inspired by them. So I would say it's more of it's a step away from fan art or fanfic and a step towards original fiction. So it's like in between, it's an in between space.
Okay. So with that in mind, there was a copyright issue where you mentioned earlier you wanted to work with BigHit on it, but then later on we hear that BigHit is telling you to stop. So what happened between point A and point B? Like from the time where you wanted to reach out to BigHit to the time where they told you to stop? Like what happened in that space? Because I know a lot of people don't like understand that story.
That's true. To be honest, a lot happened. But probably, so the game started from around February 2017 was our first demo, and then BigHit didn't talk to me until 18. So the summer of 2018. So it was going for like a good year, almost a year and a half before BigHit said anything. And at first I wanted BigHit, like I tried to contact BigHit, I emailed them, I even saw that they read my email, but they didn't respond to me. I even contacted a local, like a business consultant in Korea, who could help me, and he liked the idea and all that, but I just ended up like not like basically I just pursued different avenues trying to get it going, but it kind of like nothing really ever panned out. And then like the fans themselves started taking it upon themselves to like email BigHit, to try to like at them on Twitter. They even tried to like get, I think it was Ellen, to like ask questions about it, like different interviewers to ask questions about it. It started getting really far beyond what I expected, even though I was just kind of trying to like quietly give this demo to BigHit. The fans were like screaming about it. So I got to the point within that year and a half's time where I didn't really like care if BigHit had seen it or not anymore, because of the fact that the fans just loved it so much. That was enough for me. And if BigHit didn't see a problem with it, then I didn't care. Like I would just keep going, because I had, like I said, I think that BigHit probably saw it a long time ago. It's all I gave them, I gave them an email, I tried to send it to them. There was many different ways to reach out. So I took their silence as a, well, for now, we can keep going. So then in summer of 2018, I ended up getting an email through Apple saying that there was a copyright claim, and it was BigHit's lawyer talking to us, talking to me, saying they wanted me to do a cease and desist on the games, any reference to the artist's name and any reference to the artist, period in the game. And I pretty, like, once I saw that, it was upsetting, to think that they that's how they took it, like that's how they took all my hard work. And it was like upsetting because it was like, why didn't they tell me that when they saw it before? like if they had seen it before, like that sort of thing. Like I felt those kind of feelings, but at the same time, I wasn't surprised because I knew that was always a possibility. Later, I came to find out that during that same period of time, they had actually started to like do copyright work, copywriting BTS's name and ARMY and stuff like that. So they probably came upon it for that, like during that time, or just wanted to protect their interests. I could say that in a way it was like an honor too, to have them finally come and talk to me and to feel like my game was important enough to actually come and ask me to stop. And then they also were like asking me for financial records. So like they obviously thought my game was doing well, and they wanted their piece of the pie, I guess. But so I felt like it was fair. So I went ahead. I got a lawyer to help me talk to them. I got a lawyer. Sorry, something happened out there.
Something just fell.
I got a lawyer to help me talk to them, and the lawyer basically advised me to remove all the references right away, and change the art if I could. And I had actually, at the time when BigHit had contacted me, I had actually given up on the idea to this guy. I was like, well, time to close up shop, you know. Mm-hmm. I wasn't gonna fight with them about it. It was, like I said, it was fair. So I wasn't gonna fight with them about it or anything. I just wanted to understand how it was the best way to proceed, like for me. And but then the lawyer is the one who came up with the idea of basically just changing the art and then continuing on. So in a way that lawyer say to the edge of the sky. I love that lawyer.
Everybody saying thank you to the lawyer.
Yes. So he came up with the idea, and then I told BigHit right away. I immediately put the mask over the faces and I removed everything I could. I told him right away, and I said, hey, this is what I've done to try to comply with your request. And I also told Apple. And Apple, forwarded that response to them. And then, about a month passed. I went to the artists. They were so great. The current artists, Diaz, also known as like Non-Con Man, and Zhao Huey and Adia Palevi, who work with me still on To the Edge of the Sky. Like they were all great. They were like understanding. I said, hey, this is what the situation is. We really need to change this art. I need to, recommission like all new art. And they were like, okay, well, let's do whatever we have to do. Adia made masks right away. So like we got them in. And then my programmer like got them in right away. Like everyone came together. Like everyone who was working on the project at the time came together to like kind of save the project. And they kind of offered, the sympathies, and they were angry too, because they had wanted, it to get picked up. But
because they were BTS fans.
Yeah, Adia isn't a BTS fan, but he still wanted the project to do well. Mm-hmm. He still definitely cares about the project. He definitely cares about the quality of his work. And then Zhao Huey and Diaz are definitely BTS fan artists. So they were upset at BigHit's decision, but they were ready to do whatever it took to like keep the game going. And I really appreciated that at that time.
So would you say that people just really love like your writing, like the work, like what do you think people love about the work? Like I know, stepping out of the interview suite for a second, there are times where you kind of don't really understand why people like your work,
yeah,
or what people like of your work. So but looking back now, especially after talking about the situation, like what would you say helped keep the fan interest alive and the fan drive forward to the end of the sky? Since BTS was no longer a part of it, but it's still a huge thing. What do you think people love about it?
I think that my strengths, from what I can tell of talking to fans and stuff on Discord and reading reviews and stuff, I think my strengths probably lie in the characters themselves. I think the characters feel real for people. I think that the plot is interesting. I think there's a lot of discussion. What's going to happen next? Do you think this is the meaning of this? I think I weave in a lot of subtleties and hidden. Well, not even I think I do it on purpose. I weave in a lot of subtleties and hidden meanings and stuff like that, because that's just the way my mind naturally thinks. I think on a deeper see beyond the surface. So I think I put that into my work, and that interests people. That keeps people's interest, because it's not just something all on the surface. It's like if the more you play it, the more you can figure out, the more you think about it, the more you find out. So then there's that, and then like I said, the characters are very alive, I guess, to people. So they have a lot of they make people feel emotions strongly, and when people feel emotions strongly, they tend to become passionate about things. So I also think that it's kind of the whole package, because it's like I worked really hard on finding, like on the art. Like I worked really hard on the art. Concepting the characters, working with the artists really closely to get it just right. And I spent a lot of money on the art to have it at that caliber that it is. And then at the same time, there's also the music. I'm so specific about the way that I direct things. I think it's just kind of a whole package deal. I put in everything I have, and thankfully, it reaches a lot of people. So I was surprised when we had to change the art, and we lost a lot of fans, like a lot of fans. But I didn't, really care if they were just there for BTS and whatever. But we also kept a lot of fans. So I felt like at that point that my work was something more than what I thought, because they actually weren't just there. There was a lot of people who were like, hey, I still want to know how the story ends, and that meant like the world to me.